That's a bit more like it. The first time I've heard that intro a week, because the first time I tried it, it was silent. Hello, welcome back to the Fallout Bar here at Online Darts for the Grand Slam. Myself, Jack Gower, joined by the wonderful Mr. Dan Simpson. Dan, how are we doing, pal?
All right, I'm just full of man flu, full of colds, so I apologise for my inevitable sneezing and sniffling and coughing and spluttering throughout this this show, but I will do my very best to labour my way through it. Other than that,
and here I was thinking the tears were for Chris Dobey's exit, not because you weren't feeling very well.
Oh, mate, and honestly, like, I know I was on last night with Charlie, and that last game clawed it back because I've never had such a bad run of predictions in my entire life. I managed to get absolutely everything, not just a bit wrong, but very wrong.
At this point, can I point out that I had predicted a James Wade-Stephen Bunting final, and it is still on the cards?
It is. It's still possible. I don't know about on the cards. That's maybe a bit generous. But
I feel a lot better about it tonight than I did last night. Let's put it that way. Now that I'm one step closer, but
you are one step closer, mate. Definitely.
Plenty of darts to go before then. Even everybody in the chat room, Alex says hi, everyone. Filthy darts and Humphries and Selter around a final. It was just a brilliant night darts. Full stop, in my opinion. Jack says class tonight. Ando Humphries will be class again. Luke's slight favourite, watch out with Gary. The last two matches are class, 100%. Shawnee Max says, TikTok lads, any chance you are getting on a bit now, Shawnee? We apologise for the lateness of the hour. We can't make the players play any quicker though, but to be fair, we've had 4 pretty well-paced games tonight. I thought they've all just got on with it and thrown some great darts. Jack says, great night, and Josh Gamer says, I think Ryan would have won that game against Luke. I'm not sure I understand that. But anyway, let's get into talking about the action. Dan, you somehow put yourself on mute, mate.
It was only because I thought I was going to sneeze. I might do that occasionally. If I think a sneeze is coming, I'll just quickly mute myself.
Perfect. We start with the very first game of the night, and despite the fact that before this week, Josh Rock had not won a game on television, he finds himself in the quarter-finals. 10-5 victory over Krzysztof Ratajski. Solid from Josh Rock, but the story of this one, Dan, is probably the sheer number of doubles Krzysztof Ratajski has missed in this match.
Yeah, and he got behind really without Josh Rock doing anything particularly amazing in the early stage of the match. And I'll be honest, and those that were tuning in last night will know that I had this as a relatively comfortable Ratajski win. It couldn't have been further from that, but I think it was more on Ratajski not playing, the way that I expected him to, than Josh Rock coming. We've seen him absolutely tear it up on the Pro Tour. That isn't really what we saw tonight, but I'm taking that as a really positive sign because he managed to get the win and get the job done. I think once he was 4-0 up, it looked a hell of a way back from Krzysztof Ratajski, who never really seemed to settle. And yeah, 5 from 20 on the doubles is not going to get you, not in this long format. You need to start to hit some consistency on the doubles when you're playing in a first to 10. His scoring seemed to be fine. Very, very level game. There was one different between them in 180s, exactly the same amount of 140s, and 30 to 29 on the Ton Plus. The scoring was very, very level, and it was just the fact that Krzysztof didn't take the chances that he created for himself. Josh Rock was close enough to him in the scoring to be able to stick it out, and I think it was really positive for Josh because we've not seen him do that on TV. We haven't seen him close a game out like that over that format against one of the best darts players in the world. Krzysztof's no mug. That was a tough game, and Josh Rock came out and won it.
Indeed. I mean, you see the group that Krzysztof's come out of just to get to this stage in the first place. He's looked absolutely brilliant in doing so, but it's a case of just leaving himself far too much to do, isn't it? Like the doubles, not only has he missed far too many doubles, but I think the timing of those doubles, allowing Josh Rock such a comfortable lead, changed the dynamic of this game completely. Because, as you said, ability-wise, in terms of what they've produced actually on the hockey for the rest of it, scoring-wise, it was pretty level. But when you're chasing a game like Krzysztof was forced to do because of his own making, not because of the brilliance of Josh Rock at that point. Josh Rock had taken the chance was given to him, but because that was pretty much of Ratajski's own doing, that made that little bit more difficult for him to focus and start clawing his way back in, didn't it?
Yeah, like 100%. And yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the reasons that I predicted a Ratajski win yesterday is that I thought this was going to be a fairly level game. Certainly at the midpoint. I expected it to be a 5-5 at the midpoint, and I thought that Krzysztof Ratajski's got a lot of experience playing knockout matches, big tournaments on TV. He just has, he had a brilliant run through the match play. He's been around the block a few times, and I just thought the experience might just shine through when the pressure got on to Josh Rock. And where it, I think, went wrong for Ratajski, as you well pointed out, was the timing of those opportunities that he missed meant that at no point in this game Josh Rock was under any pressure. He was never within a couple of legs of it. He was always a mile in front. Therefore, Josh was able to very much relax. And when things didn't go Josh Rock's way, when he did miss doubles, he wasn't getting worked up about it. He knew he had 3 more legs in hand. He knew he had 4 legs in hand. It wasn't a big deal when he didn't miss a double. And that experience from Ratajski, it never really came into play because it was just too comfortable for Rock.
Do you think that experience works both ways of a player like Krzysztof? Because he has been phenomenal for the last couple of years. We've seen him lift Pro Tour titles. He was the world master in the BDO, which got him into the PDC World Championships for the first time when he did. But do you think that experience works both ways in that if it has gone wrong for Ratajski at the latter stages of a TV tournament, it has all been on that outer ring? At no point have we ever looked at a Krzysztof Ratajski performance when he's in form, when he's playing well, or up on the TV and gone, he's not scored well enough tonight. It's always been, he's let himself down on the outer ring. Yeah,
and he's not often... and again, I'm sort of going from memory, so I could be a while. I'm just trying to think of instances, but he's not often sort of roundly beaten and outscored and outplayed, is he? He's not. It's not very often that happens. He generally almost appears to beat himself when he, it's not very often we look at a match where Ratajski's been beaten and say, "Hey, he was just outplayed." Like it is usually that you look sort of at him and his performance in that he's not took advantage or not took his chances, or he's messed around on the outer ring and it just he hasn't given himself enough chance to get over the line. But yeah, funny old game for Ratajski. And it's a funny game at a funny time. There's lots of important big TV matches coming up for him. So we'll see, and we'll see how that experience bears through over the next couple of months.
As for Josh, a very big TV match coming up in the next couple of days because he's booked his spot in the quarterfinals. As I said, he hadn't won a game on TV this year up until the Grand Slam. Now he is on an absolute roll. That's 5 straight, 3 in the group, 4 straight.
Yeah, and I know we'll come to it. We will come to it shortly, but it's a winnable match, isn't it? I'm not. I certainly, and I'm not buying into this. I don't make him the favourite in that game, if I'm honest. But you look at it and think it's a winnable game. He's got a real good chance as a major semi-final. Real good chance at it.
He has indeed. I believe we do have a clip from his post-match press conference. Obviously, I wasn't in yesterday, and it's a little bit messy, but I'll make sure that this is tonight. Looks like we have 3. So this is what Josh Rock had to say in his post-match press conference.
100%, because I knew it was on my mind, because it was like you haven't got through to a quarter-final yet on a major stage, so I should have had a 10-dart leg to make sure it was over and done with, but mucked it up and it affected me the next leg, but luckily I controlled myself the next leg and got the win double.
It's been a strange year. Couldn't win a game on TV. Now all of a sudden 4 in a row and the trophy is within touching distance.
Yeah, exactly. So it's weird. Obviously, this is just starts. You can look at Peter Wright. He's went through the whole year. He's not played his best and he goes and wins a major. Maybe I could do that too. I haven't played my best, but maybe win a major. Never know.
This time last year, you were the one that everyone was talking about. That's died down a little bit. I know you said you liked going under the radar, but performances like that is going to put you back above the radar, isn't it?
Well, there's other things it might do. So it might start talking about me again, but it doesn't faze me now because I've had that first year in the PDC. They were talking about me. Now it's Luke Lettler and Jan Van Veen, so let them have the fame. No. I didn't shake his hand the way I should have shook his hand, but I was just buzzing because I've got to my first quarter-final. I shook his hand properly, but I usually say a couple of words to players after, but I didn't because I think it was just an emotion because I got the first quarter-final.
Fair enough. I think it is difficult to fly under the radar in a quarter-final, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Once you're there,
I don't think there was too much in the handshake or anything in that regard. I think that's just one of them.
Do you know, I did for a second, like if I'm completely honest, I noticed just how that it was short, but not in a sense of like, I didn't think it was in any way unsportsmanlike or anything like that. You could almost just see that sort of explosion of relief that came out of Josh. That it almost seemed at the point of the handshake that he realised he'd won, and he was almost in a rush to celebrate. I think he wanted to throw his arms up and turn to the crowd. I certainly don't think it was an unsportsman like handshake or anything. He did shake his hand, but it was short and he spun away a bit quick. But I think he was just celebrating, wasn't he?
I think there's time to sort that afterwards as well. There's emotions when the game's over like that.
I don't. And do you know what? We've seen a lot of that on social media this week. Like it seems like a big thing at the minute is that we have to scrutinise, the various different handshakes and interactions after matches. Now, I just think you have to sometimes just think, well, there's a lot going on.
There is such a lack of needle and rivalries and all that going on at the moment. Actually.
Yes,
we're trying to find one.
100%. Yeah, there's
been a massive flip on the opinion of Ricardo Pietreczko this week, given that actually when he won a Euro Tour 4 or 5 weeks ago, he was the darling of the sport at one point, if you like, and he reacted badly to the crowd not being on his side for his game against
but
Bowen.
Nobody's talking about anybody else. No players in their interview. Everyone's being very, very nice at the minute. Nobody's talking about anybody else, and when they are, it's because they're saying how great they are and what a lovely bloke they are. Ryan Searle talking about Luke Humphries. That couldn't say enough wonderful things about what a fantastic bloke he was.
Luke did the exact same at the end, going when he's on it, he's in the top 4 in the world. And he gets you back going. I'm like, come on, boy, Game 3 should have been hyped up to the masses. It was one of the most memorable finals in world darts when this pair met last time on this stage. And do you know what? It was played in great spirit. They got on with the darts, and it was a friendly handshake at the end. Yeah, well done.
Well, that is genuinely one of the sort of notes, sort of mental notes I had about that game. And again, we'll come to it. Was literally just about what great spirit the game seemed to be played in, but from both players. Both of them seemed very, there wasn't any, and I don't know, is that a ridiculous thing to say that, maybe we want more, more needle, more, I don't know.
It certainly makes selling a game and building it up that little bit better, but we'll talk about that in a couple of moments. A few people in the chat room. Joel's in, he says, what's up, all? James says, I think Price was rubbish. Do you? You'll hear our thoughts on Gerwyn Price in a couple of minutes. Bill said Wade was the lowest average of all 8 players. Classic Wade. It certainly did not feel that way, and we'll talk about that in a couple of moments' time. Hi, guys, from Maisie, who's not hiding upstairs from John, watching on an iPad. Great game from John. Hi, Maisie, if you are not hiding. Even John, how we go, pal. And to the rest of the O'Shea clan, including you, Laura. Sean says, superb from Anderson. Tough one next against Humphries. His scoring power is unreal. We'll talk about that in a minute because I can hate the format of that. Jack says, class. Sean, has tough route, 50-50 game. Sean says, good to see Anderson back playing like this, though. Agreed, we'll talk about that. Malik says, highlight of Anderson's year. Game number 2 is possibly one of the highlights of my year so far because Mr. James Wade is into the quarterfinal stage of yet another televised major tournament. I saw a stat from the Weekly Dartcast earlier that he's made the quarterfinals of a Sky TV event in 10 of the last 11 years. And the one year that he didn't, he went on to win 2 ITV majors. That's relentless consistency.
I have no dislike at all for James. I am a bit of a closet James Wade fan. I like his. I'm still a fan. As a solid member of the upper middle class, I will still buy into anyone wearing a proper buttoned-up shirt with a collar. There needs to be more of that in darts. He gets my vote every day. But obviously, he was playing Chris Dobey tonight, so I was big in the Dobey camp. Look up wading in the dictionary and watch that match. If you want to know what wading is and how it works, that is it. It's just an ability to relentlessly be there and not dominate, and not dominate in a fashion that we ever recognise in darts. Not constantly being ahead, not front running, not high scoring, but just every single time your opponent misses an opponent and you've got a 3-dart combination taking it out. It's just it's so impressive, and I can't understand how people can't get behind it, because I genuinely think it's entertaining to watch. It was tough for me tonight because he took Dobey out, but yeah, it was a great performance from James Wade, and it was a proper James Wade performance.
It was brilliant. Look, we'll run through some stats. He's, like we just said, he's had the lowest average of anybody in the 8 players tonight, 94.56. He's actually outscored Dobey in the tons and 140s, and was only 180 behind Dobey tonight. Dobey actually had 3-ton plus finishes, Wadey just the 2. And Wadey finishes 10 from 23 on the outer ring. But let's not forget, the man missed 7 match starts. That was 10 from 16. If he'd gone on to win it first start in the final leg. Like, that's how difficult it has been to contend with James Wade tonight, who is, it's just relentless. Every single time Chris Dobey wasn't there, Wadey picked his pocket. And after stealing that first mini session, Chris Dobey's first 3 darts tonight were 180, and you could be very much forgiven for sitting there going, James in trouble here, because if he's going to find that maximum of that treble as often as he is, the scoring power of James is not going to be there. And there was a couple of legs where the scoring power wasn't there. But Wade is probably one of the best players in the world at just letting that go and understanding that I've got the darts again in a minute and I'll do what I do when I get them.
I do think, though, that there is and I know he comes in with some criticism for it as well, but I think that the mentality with which he is able to approach these games is a massive advantage to him, because you're right, he doesn't see he doesn't see his opponent taking 2 10-dart legs on the bounce and think, oh, I'm in bother here. Because he's just so experienced, he's done this so much that he knows, well, that won't, he's not going to do that every leg. And as soon as he slips and he starts throwing a 15-dart leg, an 18-dart leg, I'll have won that leg because I'll just come in and get, and he knows that he'll always be close enough to give himself opportunities. And he is often able to take advantage of them. I don't think Dobey had a particular stinker. I don't think he was at his, well, he wasn't at his best, was he? He missed a number of key doubles. He was 8 from 23 on the doubles, Chris, and there was maybe 2 or 3 doubles in the first 8 legs of that game that if he'd have managed to pin them, I think the game probably would have swung very differently. There was a couple of key ones that just didn't go his way, and then he just couldn't quite regain a foothold in it.
I agree, but was that just in the moment, or can we attribute that to the pressure that James Wade was putting him under? Because there was a moment when they're both on 31, I think, when Dobey missed and James then goes 11, double 10 as he often does, where Wayne Mardle said it best on comms for that bit, in that players are scared of missing now because they know it's James Wade behind him. But he still has that aura, that reputation. Actually, now he's started to play that much better in the second half of the season. That double gets that little bit smaller, knowing that James Wade coming back at tops or tens is swiftly following.
But I don't even think it's just that, because I genuinely think it when your opponent sat. Your opponent sat on 40 and he's coming back for 40. But I don't think people will. I think James Wade has that effect on people when he's come back for 116.
Mm-hmm.
I think when James, I think anything between 40 and 130, people think, I don't really want to let him back in. I don't want to let James Wade back in for 120. I don't want to let James Wade back in for 84. He's too good at just not panicking, coming in, getting rid of what's left, and it's in terms of his performance, I use it quite a lot when we talk about Pro Tour matches. I say, it's a professional performance. Someone's come in and put a professional performance on. They've taken care of business, so to speak. Nothing showy, just going about it and getting done and finished. And he's one of the best in the world at that, just that professional. Winning games, getting it done, getting off.
Yeah, one more sign perhaps that it was going to be Wadey's night. Before tonight, he'd only thrown up 4 different targets on the outer ring. Bullseye, tops, 10s and 5s. Started pinning double 16 early on the back end of that 103 combination. That's when you get a bit worried, because if Wadey's switching to the left instead of the right and still pinning it, you know that it might not be going your way. Let's then hear from James in his post-match press conference with Mr. Phil Bowers.
I wanted to win a little bit for someone else more than myself. Probably would have wrapped it up way quicker than what I did. But, so onwards and upwards.
Was that the celebrations we saw you to the family and friends there at the end there, the big fist pump and the... There's a couple of people in that crowd that do way more for me than anyone ever has done. So, and one of them's going through some real hardship at the moment. So, probably took it a little bit personally and probably tried a little bit too hard. If I didn't do that, it would have been over and done with way before. Exactly that, he's a good player. And he's a great star. Sky love him, ITV love him. So he's a great influence for TV and young dart players. So that's always a good thing, right?
The quarterfinals.
It's a frustration for me, because if I haven't done it now on my 4th game, is it going to come out? I don't know. If it does, I'll be all right. I'll be cushy. It'll be fun. But at the moment, it's looking quite bleak, I think. But I can still win games playing bad, so that's a good thing.
Looks absolutely fine to me. If you said he's not playing well, I couldn't disagree more with that one, James. Personally,
I mean, he did mention in his stage interview straight after the match, there was obviously some personal, bits in his mind and things going on, and I suppose again we referred to it a little bit earlier about the mentality of the professionalism of him is you didn't notice any of that during the game. Or I didn't. Somebody more perceptive than me might have, but during the game, at no point did I think, it looks like a man carrying the weight of the world. He didn't at all.
A couple of celebrations, but they were the opposite way, which is where he normally usually gives it to A, somebody that's giving him abuse from the crowd, or B, he's left-handed, so his natural turn is that way compared to everyone else is that way. There was no sign of that.
No sign at all. But again, I think that's probably just a positive sign of the of the mentality of him. He sort of got that one back from earlier in the year. Was it the match play? Dobey knocked him out of the match play, didn't he? So he's leveled that one up for the year, and kicks on to potentially go a bit deeper in the tournament.
He does indeed. James Wade, Josh Rock will be a quarterfinal match. The 2 games we've already seen so far. This where the format actually is okay, because the 2 group winners from Group A and B actually meet each other in the quarterfinals. There's no chance of repeat of players they've already played. So that bit's absolutely fine. We'll get onto that shortly, though. We're going to talk about the bottom half of the draw later on, but early predictions for Wade Rock. Best of 31. An even longer format now. Josh Rock is notorious for being a fast starter. If he builds a big lead, do we feel comfortable that he can produce it over that distance, or is this one a James Wade arm's length masterclass?
I feel that it's probably a James Wade. I just feel, I just feel it. I think, we saw what I think is, James Wade won't do what Krzysztof Ratajski did tonight. Is the thing. If Josh Rock goes 4-0 up, James Wade won't panic. It won't get on top of him. He won't think, oh dear, what's going on? He'll know his opportunities are going to come. He'll stay fairly steady. I think James Wade will certainly over that long format. It's such a long format for 31. I don't think, he probably has in other formats, within the PDC. I don't think Josh Rock's played a best of 31 game. In fact, I'm confident he hasn't.
Not if this is his first quarterfinal.
Yeah, I don't. He's not played a game of that length before. James Wade's very, very used to games of that length, and I think it might be time to, go to school, so to speak.
Indeed. Right, let's look at the other two games that happened tonight. Starting with one of the best games of the season, in my opinion. Gary Anderson 10, Gerwyn Price 6, both players 104 and 105 average. Just what a game, Dan. What an absolute game. Just played a glorious pace, lovely rhythm. Both players just... There was a comment at one point from the comms team, I can't remember who was sat next to Dan, who went, and neither player have had a ton plus checkout yet. And he was like, yeah, because after 9 darts, they've been on less than 100 in pretty much every single visit. It was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was the best. It was the most I have enjoyed a game for a long time. It's a long time since I've enjoyed, and I don't mean, watching your favourite player win a match, but, just sitting in a chair and watching two people play darts and just constantly just being entertained and excited and enjoying what you're seeing. Thoroughly enjoyable, really good game. I thought I'd played an absolute blinder, poised, waiting for the suspended betting to unclear as I managed to get even money for Gezi Price when he was 2-1 down, 3-1 down, and thought I've played an absolute blinder there. And Gary Anderson made a clown of me and just absolutely kicked on. Did not, because I just thought, sooner I thought Gezi will come back after the break and he'll come back with another level. And to agree, did.
I mean, Gary darts 180 or 140, but then Gary responded with the same when I was like, if Gary was going to switch off, it would have been after that break, wouldn't it? It would have been after that second one. There's the chance. This is where Gezi reels it in. He gives it a big roar after a steady finish or fires in a 180, and this is where the game just slips away from Gary, because this is what happened since it feels like in every meeting since they met in that 2018 final. Gary's wanted it a little bit too much. Gezi's had the absolute, length over him and just done a job.
Yeah, and that's what, honestly, that's why as soon I genuinely thought it's an unbelievable financial advantage, Gary Anderson going into an early break, because I thought, well, you're going to get even money for Gezi. That's ridiculous, because we all know what's about to happen. But that's now 4 matches in a row that Gary Anderson's beaten Gerwyn Price. Like, they've played each other 4 times this year, and Gary Anderson's beaten Price every time. First 3 were on the floor, players 5, 8, and 25, 3 players championship event. But that's 4 games they've played this year, and Gary Anderson's had the beating of him in all 4 of them. And it was such a refreshing and brilliant thing to see Gary not slip away, not run out of steam. It just, every time Price lifted it, Gary went with him and just held him at arm's length, and really never looked under threat in that back half of the game at all. Again, I'll sort of go back to what we said earlier. The game was played in incredibly good spirits. Gezi didn't seem to get visibly frustrated, angry. There was none of that. I thought it was played in really great spirits. It was a thoroughly enjoyable game to watch and really entertaining.
Yeah, there's a couple of people saying he didn't shout too much or roar too much. I felt there was one for the 97 to go in at 3-2 down after the next break, and there was a couple of glimpses. But actually, I also think there was a point where he needed something big. He needed a spark to almost lift it and let Gary know that was the moment. When he won the 6th leg and looked like he was getting back into it again, I think he had chances to win the following leg as well. When he won his 6th leg, and at that point it was he throwing to get back within 1?
Yeah, he did. He threw to get back within 1 and didn't get it over the line.
Yeah.
But that for me was the story of the match. Is that it every time he got close. I mean, 3-3 was the last time he was. The last time the game was leveled up, and then from that, Gary took 2 in a row, broke him again, and once he was 5-3 ahead, he just seemed to keep holding him, and every time Gezi got one back, he just kept putting him. It wasn't until 8. Anderson got broke at 8-5 up, but he built a cushion by. He was already a break up, and he started the game on throw because he won the bull. So he just kept keeping him further and further back. And then when he took the break to go 9-6 up, it was never, Gary never looked like losing 4-5 in a row, did he? It was never going to happen. Unbelievable levels. But I do, you do still wonder, like, well, how long can it last? How long can it go on for?
Mr. Barr's obviously been very big on Gary all year, and there's still that inevitability that it's not gonna last for Gary. Because I think there are so many people, so many romantics in sport that want to see it, and so many fans out there of Gary that want to see it, but have been since that final, almost since that 2018 final with Gezi, been waiting or searching for that spark from Gary to go and play at the same level that Gary did for 2 or 3 years. It took him to back-to-back world championships and a third final and pick up trophies left, right, and centre. And actually, the more and more this continues, the more and more we're seeing this, the more and more this might be the spark and the little revival. It's his favourite tournament. He's desperate to win it. And actually, this could be the moment, especially if he keeps leaving 81 after 9 and mopping it up, because I've never seen that so often from a player in my life.
No, but what we don't see from Gary as well, and I quite like the fact that we don't, is Gary doesn't come out and tell us he's going to win tournaments. He doesn't do like we see from other players. He doesn't come and give it the big, and he just wants to play darts. That's what they're the sound bites that we get from him. We can only hope, can't we? As darts fans and as fans of Gary Anderson, we can only hope. And but it is, I think, just the general. So I've got friends, like mates of mine, who are, I wouldn't call them casual darts fans, but they certainly don't probably take in as much darts as and probably everyone in the chat room there. They're more on the casual end. They watch it because it's on Sky Sports and they're flicking around. But I've had messages tonight saying, like, wouldn't it be great if Gary Anderson, wouldn't it be great if he won something big this year? Yeah, and then so it just seems to capture even the casual, the casual fan find it hard to not root for Gary Anderson. So yeah,
I would even let him beat James Wade in the semi-finals if it meant Gary was back.
Well, if James was, if James had anything about him, he'd
just stand aside.
Yeah.
Right, let's hear from Gary in his post-match press conference after that stunning win over Gerwyn.
Is that one of the best performances on TV you've put in over the last few years, you feel?
I think it's been about 4 years since it's been on telly for the last time, but we don't know. Nah, listen, I'm playing well on the practice board, I'm playing well on the floor tournaments. I've been struggling on stage because, like I say, it's a bit, the nerves get to me, so it was all right. I mean, didn't matter what hit me, I was as cool as a cucumber, as they say. You sound like Sky there, Phil. So, I won't swear on telly, but you know what the answer is. Get yourself there. No, we've played a few times since then, but like I say, I played them a few times on the floor, and I've played well against them, 106, 108 averages against them, so, on the floor it's there.
You said everyone's been whispering Anderson's doing this, Anderson's doing that. Performances like that will only enhance that, won't it?
Listen, I'm too old to get pressure put on me. At that age, I'm risking a dodgy ticker, but listen, I'm, like I say, I've said it before, Ryan's helped me, got my fishing lights, got the kids to school, I've got my wee routine, and I'm happy as a pig in muck.
No, many congratulations.
You thought I was going to swear at me?
Oh, Gary, just swear at him. We will.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We won't find you, mate. It's fine. You carry on. We won't even report you.
Minority there. People not willing to swear at Phil Bars. I mean, the
man just wants to play darts and swear at Phil Bars. On to the final match of the night, and what a performance this was, by the way, from Luke Humphries. And look, Ryan Searle hasn't really done a lot wrong tonight, Dan. He's on the receiving end of a not a walloping, but a solid win from Luke Humphries once again, who, for the fourth match in a row in this tournament, averaged over 100, 105.42 in the end. The World Grand Prix champion looks good.
Yeah, and I mean, before we get into it, I do think it's like, I do genuinely want to highlight that was absolutely not, that was a really, really good performance from Ryan Searle. You're right, he's gone 50% on his doubles. Like, and to get to 7, like Ryan Searle he played some amazing darts in that game. And I think just, to take 7 legs off someone who's averaging 105.5 You've got to be playing impressive. Ryan Searle did very, very well to keep himself in that game for let's be honest, the majority of that game he was hanging around, up to halfway through, at 5-4, he was still there and he was still making chances for himself. And he had a little resurgence at the end where he managed to get a couple of extra legs on. But Luke Humphries is a terrifying prospect. Terrifying. And other darts players will be very, very worried, not just about Luke Humphries in this tournament, but they'll be worried about the fact that we're halfway through November and Luke Humphries is averaging 106 on telly consistently, regularly.
Race to 10 over 17 legs and is potentially about to do it again in a best of 31.
Yeah, and that isn't like, it's not like all of a sudden we're seeing something from him today and everyone's going, bloody hell, we didn't know he had this. Like, this is the level at which Luke Humphries is currently managing to find consistently. And he's doing that middle of November. And we've got, let's be honest, there's 3 major titles on the table in the next 3 months. And he is a massive threat to all 3 of them, without a shadow of a doubt. The style of play that he has, I think it's quite a rare one in that the way that he plays the game and the strengths that he have fit really well in both a match play and set play scenario, which make him like a massive threat in an event like the Grand Slam, but then also a huge threat in the World Championships as well, because he can just score so quickly and he can grab 3 legs so quickly that, in a match play scenario, he can all of a sudden break you and get ahead, and then he's just front running. Or he can just whip a set away from you immediately because he's so fast and he's scoring so high. If his finishing wasn't great today, like his finishing stats weren't particularly impressive. Luke Humphries, he was some way behind Ryan Searle, but his scoring was just so ridiculous. We talked earlier on about the Wade. I think was it the Wade Dobey match? I think and they were 29 and 30. In terms of just ton plus throws. Luke's on 43. He's done another third more than that.
Yeah. Ryan's at 35. That's possibly where the game's lost in those 3 legs. 8 tons over 3 legs is effectively the difference in that game.
That's it. That's exactly what it is. It's just that ability to grab a leg that you've got no right to grab. Just all of a sudden you're not out of it because you'll just hit a 180 where no one thinks you're good at, when all of a sudden you're back in, and then you take the chance that you create for yourself. And yeah, he's a really, really dangerous prospect at the minute.
Yeah, Anthony says it there. 118 first 9 over 17 legs is what he's produced tonight. Scoring average of 118 in the first 9 legs in the first 9 darts of every single leg is just staggering. A couple of points to make on Luke. First of all, it's not an exact comparison, but there'll be a lot of people on the tour right now looking at what Luke Humphries is doing. The fact he's gotten over the hill in a tournament around this time of year, albeit it was the Grand Prix, but he seems to be coming alive once again here at the Grand Slam with comparing it to what Michael Smith did last year. Gets over the hump the very first time in that crucial period, is still playing well in the majors, looks a different animal, and is heading into Ali Pali as one of the favourites. And with that, I think there's been a slight change in the mentality and the way that Luke is talking about the game. And I think we saw that from Bully Boy as well. There was a calmness on the stage to Bully Boy, and when he was going for doubles, there was less of a panic, less of a it was less flustered, I think is the way to go about it. I think Luke's changed the way that Luke's talking about himself right now. Luke would have come off 12 months ago, 18 months ago, Luke would have come off the stage and gone, that's how good I am, that's how brilliant I am, that shows I'm good enough for the Premier League. Now he's going, it was all right, wasn't it? And he's not underplaying it, but he's very much aware now of his position in the game. He's talking about his game properly. He's giving opponents respect. He's not being brash about himself. He's letting the darts do the talking and let everyone else worry about the fact that he stood there going, yeah, actually, that's okay, rather than that's how good I know I can be, and then putting pressure on himself to go and back that up again the next time he plays.
Yeah, I don't know how much that is just a natural maturity. We have to, Luke came through the youth system and he's been around. He was around the sport at a high level very young. And we now look at other players coming through, the likes of a Josh Rock and the likes of, and I appreciate that Luke didn't quite make the impression, he didn't get the amount of media coverage that we're seeing for the other, the current batch of, Josh Rocks and Jan Van Veens and everybody else. But I think a lot of people knew he had that talent and that potential, at a young age. And I do just think some of it is a natural maturity. I think he learned a lot, probably, from the way that he talked about the Premier League and various other things, and not getting in the Premier League, and potentially reflecting on, there was a really good interview that Phil did a while ago with Matt Porter, where they talked quite honestly about that situation and about the what effect the Premier League can have, and whether they thought somebody was ready for it. And maybe he did have to go and reflect on the way that he was talking and how that meant he was perceived, and whether he still feels that way or not, that he needs to present himself in a different way if he wants to move in the direction he wants to go and be perceived the way that he wants other people to perceive him. I think Matt was quite clear in his interview about what the expectation is and the concerns that they had. But yeah, I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of a natural maturity and also probably fairly strategic and understanding how he needs to carry himself for his own advantage, really.
Indeed. Right, let's hear then from Luke Humphries in his post-match press conference.
Friday it's going to be Gary Anderson. You both put in special performances here tonight. Are we expecting fireworks? And do you think the group game, the fact that you absolutely annihilated him, has any impact on this game?
Probably not. It was a first to five. I think me and Gary are probably the favourites to get through anyway with Dirk's injury. I don't think it was fireworks, to be honest. I think, I played well with him myself and Gary didn't play well. He's probably going to have to play like he did against Gerwyn Price again on Friday against me, and I'm going to have to play like I did against Ryan to beat him. So, these are the games that I get out for. I really get excited about being in the latter ends of major tournaments, playing against the best players in the world. I rate Gary as one of the best players that's ever been. So, I'll look forward to that tie. First to 16, you're probably going to see loads of 180s, but I'm hoping that I can come through that game and everyone knows I want to pick up another major before the years are gone. But a very, very tough game to worry about on Friday first up. Not particularly, no. I just, obviously, Gezzy's the favourite. He was the favourite, and probably rightly so. He's been the form player for possibly this whole year. So it wasn't that I didn't expect him to win. Gary is one of the greatest players there's ever been. So if he can go out and perform like he did today, it didn't quite surprise me. But obviously, everyone just expects going to win because of the way he's been playing. So yeah, it didn't really surprise me. I probably worded that wrong, but I thought I was going to be playing Gerwyn if I was to win. So I don't think that it's an easier task for me because Gary played brilliant. So I know that regardless of whoever won that game, I had a tough game on my hands if I beat Ryan.
Interesting from Luke. Maturity, backtracking a little bit. Let's not.
I was about to say
a little bit. Whatever you do, don't go and wind Gary Anderson up. And it feels like
do I need to take back?
And gone, don't do that. Don't do that. This is what I actually meant.
Honestly, do I need to take back all my previous comments about a natural maturity and how he presents himself in interviews and being strategic about what he says? Because he seems to have tied himself into a complete knot.
The thing is, we didn't see what he actually said to put himself in that position. That's
what
he hasn't just gone, we'll stitch him up with him trying to get out of it. So we don't know the exact context.
Someone's asked him a question.
Whoever's asked that question, but you don't wind Gary Anderson up.
Yeah, it's a bad
Gary
idea.
plays like he did tonight. There are two people that could beat Gary Anderson, and both of them are Gary Anderson. Don't wind him up. Don't give him any more ammunition.
Don't make life harder for yourself than it already is.
Speaking of Luke Humphries versus Gary Anderson, they did meet in the group stage. Ridiculous that they meet again in the quarterfinals. This has to change.
I can't stand it. I'd rather they threw the names in the hat and did an open draw. Yeah. That's how much I hate it. Like I would genuinely prefer them just plucking them at random. because it's absurd. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's a stupid idea.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, and it has to change for next year. It's one of the look. The Grand Slam has the potential to be one of the best tournaments on the calendar, to showcase everything that is good about the PDC, to have its title winners, its international associations, its associate tour members, your challenge tour, your dev tour, your women's series, etc. Pop them properly, put them into a draw properly, protect the seeds either in a group or in the draw when they come back out afterwards.
Seed your qualifiers.
Yeah, 100%. Luke Humphries versus Gary Anderson, first to 16 on Friday night. As Luke said, there will be maximums, there will be fireworks. We're expecting a great game when they both get underway. What are you expecting to be the final scoreline?
Oh, man. It's going to be Gando, isn't it?
Is it? Is it? Have you just sat there and predicted a James Wade Gary Anderson semi-final? What are you doing to me, Dan?
I think I'm taking you back to about 2010. I think that's what I'm doing.
David Cameron is back in politics.
Yeah, I'm time traveling with you. Yeah, this is it. Like David Cameron's back.
Johnny Evans is starting at centre back for Man United.
David Tennant's Doctor Who. This is what we've done. We've gone back in time. This has happened. Yeah, Gary Anderson beats him by 4 legs, 16-12.
Ooh. I mean, no offense to Luke, but I wouldn't mind it. I think Luke starts favourite. I think he's just been relentless. I don't think the group game has any effect on this, despite the fact they have already played. I don't agree that it should happen, but I don't think it has any effect on a game of this length and this magnitude between these two. But there is just that aura about Luke Humphries where he will produce 2, 3, 4 ridiculous legs on the spin. And like you said, Gary at no point looked like he was going to lose 4 on the spin tonight against Gezi, but you still feel he has that in him somewhere. If top starts failing for him, if he's low on a dart, if that release is slightly off, don't get me wrong, the new darts seem to be working for him, and I expect them to absolutely fly when they go on sale at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. The Unicorn launch will be live tomorrow. I've already seen a lot of products as I was at their trade launch, but it will be live to the general public tomorrow. I expect them to fly out, given Gary Anderson's current and recent success with them. Right, now Dan, stop sneezing. Let's look ahead to tomorrow night's second round matches. 4 games. I'm just going to go in draw bracket order. I have no idea what order they're going to play them in. I'm looking at multiple different screens. So we will start with Stowe Bunce against Andrew Gilding. Stowe, perhaps the unexpected package, the star of the CDC, did an absolute job on Peter Wright in his group. And his reward for that is a matchup with the UK Open champion, Andrew Gilding. How do you see this one going?
I think this is the hardest one of the lot because I have absolutely no idea. But Andrew Gilding will win it 16-10.
First to 10 tomorrow now.
Oh, of course it is. Sorry. So this
is the second half of the second round.
The first lot already. That's why I'm doing. In that case, he's going to win it 10-5. He'll win it, and he'll win it convincingly.
This is the only one where it matches up with quarters of the draw, so we can do that little bit of a prediction as well. Everything else is, we'll chuck them in, we'll put them in, and they'll meet on this side.
He will beat him 10-5.
I've been mightily impressed with Stowe Bunce. I sat and watched some of the Continental Cup and the cross-border challenge that he's played in over in the States. He's been absolutely phenomenal in the CDC Tour. First time he's left North America, and I think he's been brilliant once again. His A game is fabulous. My concern is his B game. Over that distance, I'm not sure how many times he would have played races to 10 before. Yeah, and he strikes me as a player who enjoys or thrives off a good pace. He's not rapid, but he's not slow. And he's another one that just gets into a nice little rhythm. One of the best games I've seen him play was Leonard Gates, because he just gets on with a nice little rhythm. They're at the hockey, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
There's a rhythm to it. And Andrew Gilding does not allow you to have a rhythm.
He's the ultimate destroyer of rhythms. And he's also just... He picks pockets, Andrew Gilding, because he wins legs that he has no right to win. And then all of a sudden he'll come out and score something outrageous. Like he's genuinely unpredictable. It's almost like his methodology and his approach to the hockey is unbelievably consistent. But then his output, his outcome is very, very unpredictable. I don't think Bunce has ever encountered anything like Andrew Gilding on a major.
Sure there is anything else in the world like Andrew Gilding.
Yeah, and this is. I think it's going to be a bit of an experience for him, and it could be baffling to say the least. But yeah, I just think Andrew Gilding, and let's be fair, Andrew Gilding is a class player, and he produces some incredible stuff, and has looked very good this week. Like, he's looked very capable this week and very measured. And I think it's a Gilding win for me.
Yeah, did a job on Dolan, lost to Danny Noppert, and then did a job on Haruki Muramatsu. That was quite an awkward group pace-wise and whatever. Anyway, Dolan, not the quickest. Danny Noppert, again, quite measured. Haruki, not rapid, possibly got the best action of the three of them in that group, but just doesn't really know how to use it by looks like
can't put him in the right place.
Has one of the best actions in the world. When it the flow to it, the smoothness, the setting of the elbow is constant. It is beautiful, but he just needs to learn how to manipulate it so much better.
Put it where it needs to go. That's
I'm going to go Gildon as well. I'm going to say 10-5 in this one. I just think it gets a little bit too much for Stowe, but good experience the last couple of weeks, especially knowing that he will be back to Alexandra Palace in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, and I'm excited about
a little bit different. Time to put your stamp on it, and actually, players will have seen what he's done to Peter Wright this week, and they will be scared of him.
Well, let's be honest. I think it's done. Let's assume it's done in the world of good because he's not turning up to the Palace having A, not played on TV in a PDC major before, B, not won matches in, he's taking loads from this. Win, lose or draw tomorrow, he's taking loads from this into Alexandra Palace. And he's going to be playing the qualifying round, isn't he? He's going to be playing the first round. So you've got a really good chance of coming through that and let's, doing something fairly interesting in that tournament.
The only contrast to that is absolutely nobody will underestimate him now because he's been in the group with Peter Wright and he's blown in that fashion, is that nobody's going to take him lightly at Ali Pali. So whilst he does have that experience to go and settle and put in a performance,
he's
very off it. There's no chance he sneaks it through because somebody's underprepared for him. But that's a completely different matter. On to the other game in that part of the draw from groups F and E. Danny Noppert against Stephen Bunting. Danny Noppert has done enough, shall we say, in Group F. Stephen Bunting has been in an absolute battle in Group E, let's put it that way. Wins over Dave Chisnell, loses to Stowe Bunce, and then a win over Peter Wright on the final night. I still am big on Stephen Bunting. I still think there's a trophy in there somewhere. I'm convinced of it. He's playing far too well for there to not to be. But again, I worry that Noppert isn't the right matchup for Stephen Bunting to go and produce what he needs to over best of 19.
Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts. I think we've certainly not seen the best of either of these players this week. Neither of them, I think, have hit their A game for more than 3 or 4 legs on the bounce. Neither of them have. It's going to be a battle of who can find the closest to their A game for the longest time. That's all this game really is about at this stage. In the hope, I think, probably that one of them manages to find enough in this game to then kick on and elevate again in the round after. I think it's a Danny Noppert win, and it's very rare that I pick Danny Noppert. He's someone that I often lack confidence in when making predictions, but I think I've more confidence in Danny Noppert managing to find 10 legs before Stephen Bunting does at this stage in this tournament this week. So I think it's a Danny Noppert 10-7.
I think I'm the same. I just see Danny as a little bit more of a battler. I think if Bunting finds it, it'll blow him away.
Yeah, if Bunting comes out fast and goes 4 up, Danny will get close.
If it's a bit engrossed in a battle and a slog, Bunting needs to be about 10 to 15% better on double 16 for me. and then he'll be absolutely right up there right now in terms of form players in the world. He's just something about him. The other thing that I'm a bit wary of is that, given that Dave Chisnall and Peter Wright have exited from this part of the draw, all four of them will be looking at going, this is a bloody great chance for a semi-final.
That is the thing, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, very, very experienced players have been there. 3 players have won major titles, Gilding, Noppert and Bunton, a BDO world champion, albeit a very long time ago, but they'll know not to be looking ahead. But actually, if you take a look at that part of the draw, it'll be creeping in somewhere.
I think it's very hard to not. When you look at the bracket, it's going to be very hard for any of them. Certainly, players of, I don't know so much about Gilding, who's let's go like fairly newer to being, thought about as someone who can go and win a major. But Noppert and Bunton, I think both of them will be looking at perhaps a door being slightly ajar to a semi-final at least. In the way this bracket's opening up.
100%. Into the other part of the draw, Michael van Gerwen takes on Damon Heta. Heta obviously having to battle past Bo Greaves in sensational fashion last night. How do you see this one going?
I often find myself, feeling like I'm being a bit boring in predicting Michael van Gerwen wins. But I'm going to have to predict a Michael van Gerwen win. Damon, look, he just got over the line against Petresco. He just got over the line against Bo Greaves. He wasn't really anywhere near against Nathan Aspinall. And I just think
quite an average Nathan Aspinall as well, by the way. I don't.
Yeah, it wasn't like we didn't see the best of the Aspen, and he came and blew him away. I don't think Heta is quite close to his the form that we've seen from him in recent years. Certainly the form we saw last year and on the floor. I think it's a comfortable MVG. Where do we go? 10-4. I'm probably happy that wide. 10-4, I think.
I'm going to go 10-8. I think Damo gets close purely because I've not been that impressed with Michael this week. He did the job on foul and early doors. Don't think he was that impressive. He battled against Rob Cross, but I don't think it was overly impressing or in dominating fashion. And the game against Clearmaker, admittedly, there was not a lot on it, and he's not really produced, but he still looks open and susceptible to somebody going and hitting him with a haymaker. And
do you think this format, this? So I think that some players really relish this format. This little league, and then it goes to a knockout after that. Do you think? I'm not so sure that with Michael van Gerwen that it this sort of right things at the right time philosophy that he has, in that often he attributes that to matches, but often he gets dragged into almost applying it to a group stage as well. And he can sort of his game against Clearmaker was the equivalent of throwing after a youth team on in a League Cup game, like not quite throwing it in, not quite focusing it. But I just think often, when he comes in this game with Damon Heta, he knows it's on the line. He knows we're straight knockout now. He knows he has to win. He'll tune in. That's my thoughts in terms of the format. He just at the beginning he just needs to get through. And I know he says it out loud. He wants to win the group, but in reality, he just knows he needs to get into games that he just has to win and keep moving through, doesn't he?
Yeah, which I agree with. I look at what Gerwyn Price did in this tournament, for instance, and I look at Michael van Gerwen 6-7 years ago. Gerwyn Price has had 112 and 110 averages in the group stage. Michael van Gerwen would have gone after those a few years ago. He would have wanted to lay down a marker. He would have been, no, I have to be number one. I have to have all the averages. I have to do this, I have to do that. And he is just doing enough. My concern is that when he's just done enough in the past, or when he's not quite been on it, but still done enough in that period where he's picking up absolutely everything. One, there was still the massive fear factor around Michael van Gerwen. Don't get me wrong, there is still to a certain extent, but more and more players are more and more comfortable playing against Michael right now.
He's become more human, hasn't he?
5 years ago, yeah, he's become more human because of that down period he had where he changed darts and struggled a bit. And actually, the flicking the switch isn't quite there as often as it used to be. It's not quite at the end of his fingertips at any moment where he can just go berserk. Don't worry, that game still exists, but it's not on speed dial for him like it has been in the past.
He can't
go, right, I've had enough now. I'm going to pull my socks up, and next thing you know, I'm going to bang in 3-9 darts. Right, that's not quite there. And my worry is that where he has just effectively gone through the motions in the group stage, the only battle was Rob Cross. It was a little bit tense, but whatever. That it might not be there when he needs it most tomorrow. But I'm still backing Damon. I still think he's got enough, but it's not as, you said 10-4, it's not as wide as that for me because of those reasons with Michael.
Fair enough.
Final game of the night. We talk about battles, by the way. 2 of the most renowned players for scrapping out on a dartboard, possibly of all time. Nathan Aspinall against Rob Cross. And I want to get my 2 pence in here first. This will be the most ugly game you've ever seen at the Grand Slam.
Yeah, but
it just will, because 2 players who are renowned for battling it out, who have been in great form at other points of this year. I was still talking about Rob Cross potentially going to Alexandra Palace and chipping away for a second or picking up a major title at the back end of this year. They have both arrived in Wolverhampton and look like they've completely forgotten how to throw it up.
So I was literally you got in for, I was going to say, this one could be sublime or ridiculous. Like we could see both of them average 104 and go absolutely bonkers, or we could see them both average 86 and it could be.
I'll be honest, I'm expecting the latter. I'm expecting both to go up there and average somewhere between 80 and 85. We're going to see all 19 legs. It's going to be hideous. They're going to take out 164s or 140s on the 18s or something stupid, but they're also going to be chucking in 59s and 46s and all sorts in the scoring phase. Both of them, despite the fact they've come through the group, Nathan Aspinall top in a tough group, don't get me wrong, and Rob Cross coming through that group. All right, he's only lost 5-4 to Michael, done the jobs on Fallon and Martine. I'm just not convinced by either of them right now. And
I think it's going to be a nightmare.
Won the match play. Cross has won multiple World Series events. I'm looking at it going, if this was the match play and this was a matchup, I'm thinking, bloody hell, we're getting something special here. Now I'm like, what on earth has happened to both of these players in the last 3 months?
I also think as well, it's a complete nightmare for whoever's directing it from a camera point of view. And it's a nightmare to watch because I think what we're going to see is we're going to see relentless step backs and recalculations from Rob Cross and relentless regrips from Nathan Aspinall. And we're just not going to see, what we saw in the last game tonight in comparison between Luke Humphries and Ryan Sir, which is people just relentlessly going thump, thump, thump. And then someone else within 5 seconds going thump, thump, thump. We are not going to see that tomorrow in this match at all. We're going to see dart, camera move, step back, another dart, and then the next bloke's going to come up. Another regrip, another dart, and it's going to be torturous to watch and to play. But if you want a prediction,
that is what we're here for.
I could genuinely toss a coin. I could honestly toss a coin. So what? Rob Cross. Rob Cross will win this match 10-7. But it will be 5-all at the second break.
At the risk of jinxing him, that sounds perfect to me. I'll take one of those. That sounds about right to me. I'm just that little bit more confident about Rob Cross because for the last 2 months, he has actually still been playing darts.
Yeah. That's almost my thought.
Played the Grand Prix, but he's barely played a Pro Tour. It looks like he's suffering for it. He's not going to be at the Players' Championships. And actually, he's gone from one of the absolute favourites for Alexandra Palace 8-10 weeks ago to somebody who's slipping outside the top 6 favourites.
He did things in the match against Fallon that were very impressive, and I think went under the radar. There was just elements of the way that he closed out some of those legs that made me feel far more confident in him this week. I know we haven't seen amazing things from him lately, but there was just signs in that game against Fallon. The MVG game is a bit hard to read because it wasn't a great game.
Yeah.
But there was just combinations of darts that he put together that made me think he feels like his darts are in a reasonable place, even if the rest of us question it. And if he can replicate
what he had to do in that group as well, didn't he? He knew that actually anything against Michael is a bonus. Go and beat Martin and go and beat Fallon. And all right, he snuck past Martin in the opening game. He still averaged 96 in that. He's done the job on Fallon in the final game, 98 average. That's actually a little bit more impressive than perhaps we've just given him credit for. Whereas it feels like in all 3 games, Aspinall has gone to the well already. He had to go to the well against Bo Greaves. Part of that was him realising some knees in the game, and that was mightily impressive to kick on. But part of that was the moment she hit that 1-2-1, I think she started overthinking just a little bit. 1-2-4, sorry. You can see a slight change in her demeanour and her process and her action as well. Okay against Damon Heta, beaten by Petrescu in an incredibly bizarre game.
Weird.
Coming into this match off the back of that incredibly bizarre game against Petrescu as well. Don't get me wrong, Nathan, fabulous player, been around a long, long time, plenty of experience now, but it's still a strange one to be going into another game off the back of.
Yeah, really, and that all adds up. I think all the various different things we've talked about there just culminate to me with I can only really predict a Rob Cross winning this one, I think.
Indeed. And that, folks, is where we will end tonight. Share a reminder that post-match press conferences are available in full on our YouTube channel. We've obviously played you the clips throughout this evening if you're listening back, or if you are watching live, head over there on YouTube whenever you get the chance to pick up the full interviews from the 4 winners tonight: James Wade, Josh Rock, Luke Humphries and Gary Anderson. The Fallout Bar will return tomorrow night at the end of play. Expect that to start around 11 p.m. once again. If you're listening back, this will be available for you first thing tomorrow morning once Mr. Bars has edited and put it to your favourite podcast provider. A big thanks to Dan for joining me. You're currently down to do tomorrow, but if you continue being ill, I suspect that might change. And Mr. Boyce will be returning to the Fallout Bar for the first time in years.
I'm full of vitamin tablets and Lemsip and 1 or 2 whiskies, so I'm hoping that I might have tackled it head on, and I'm hoping to be back tomorrow in a slightly more, slightly better.
If you're still awake at the end of the Aspinall Cross game at the end of the night. But yeah, we'll go with that one. A big thank you to everybody for watching us tonight. We really do appreciate all of your support. Don't forget, if you are local to the East Midlands or the Midlands area, the Live Lounge Live will be on Monday, the 11th of December at the Prince of Wales in Ilkeston. Mr. Chris Mason, the new landlord of the venue, was in the chat room a little bit earlier on. Head over to our Facebook page. You can find the event on there. Make sure you've tipped that you come in, let us know. We'll start promoting that a little bit more on socials over the next few days as well. But we're all set for a fantastic night of the Live Lounge Live. All of us guys in the same room at once. Mics, cameras, so you guys can still watch it from home. But if you are local, please make sure you pop down, say hello, have a pint with us, whatever you fancy. Just come in and say hello and make that a fantastic night, as it will be our PDC World Championship preview show. Really, really looking forward to that one, Dan.
I can't wait. I'm genuinely excited. My new car arrived this week, so it's going to be its first run out. I'm going to travel down south. I rarely get to see you all in person. It's only a few times a year that I get to see everybody because I'm so far up out the way. So I absolutely cannot wait. And the more the merrier. The more people that we know. This is as fun as it is because of the interaction that we get. The chat room's amazing. And the more people that we actually get to spend a bit of time with and meet, then that will be amazing.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better than myself. And with that, folks, we really do wish you a good evening or good morning if you're listening back. And we will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye.